No, we're good.
How we doing, everybody? It is Monday night. It is your host of JP's Just Play podcast. I have a very special guest tonight. He's a Guinness Book of World Record, in my opinion, a video game legend as well. We've had one before, so it's my pleasure to bring on Triforce. How we doing, sir?
Hey, what's going on, JP? Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Now, just for everybody, where are you from?
Well, originally, I'm from Jamaica. I was raised in the U.S., but I'm now back in Jamaica, and yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Okay, so kind of tell us, like, I know we've been friends for a while, and I've seen your documentary as well. Just kind of
Well,
take
which
us.
one? The King of
Um,
Chinatown or the one from the Great Big Story? Because there's two of them.
ooh, um,
It's probably mostly. It has anything to do with fighting games. It's most likely the
yes,
King of China.
the
Then
King
it's
of
the King of
China.
Chinatown. Yes.
Yeah. Because I think you. So yeah, just kind of tell us where where you started, and then we'll just kind of go from there. Like, what got you into games, and then I think you transitioned over to esports, and you've
Well,
been.
it, okay. So I started out for me. Oops. For me in gaming, I started out in retro games because I'm born in the '70s. I'm 44. So
Okay.
a lot of people. I look young.
Yes, you do.
I
I
look
thought
young,
maybe
but
I thought maybe mid-30s. Like I'm
mid 30s.
34, so
Yeah, everybody thinks I'm mid 30s going on 40s, but I'm actually mid 40s going on 50. But I started playing video games from the retro scene. My first arcade ever was Star Wars, and that so Star Wars actually got me. And I tell the story all the time. My father was trying to go home. I was trying to make it in time to go watch cartoons. My dad was like, he was talking to his friends, so he gave me like 4 quarters to go play the Star Wars machine, and he was like, "Come on, you're bothering me." So I decided to like play the games, and a guy gave me a compliment because I made it to like, excuse me, stage 3, and he was like, "You're good. You ever played this before?" And I didn't, and that compliment made me really want to take games seriously. That's not the first video game I've ever played. That's the first arcade I played because prior to that, I was playing like tabletop games, Tiger LEC, and I was playing my friend's Master System before I ever got an NES. And my brother used to, Nathaniel, my older brother, he used to always um, jump out of the house while my father was like, "Don't go out the street when I'm at work," and well, he wouldn't listen. So he went out there and go to the arcades. I stayed home and I played my toys, GI Joes, Thundercats, and Transformers and stuff like that. And my brother one day said, "I'm going to take you to the arcades." And I was like, "What's that?" And he's like, "It's better than toys. They move on their own." Because when you get a toy, you got to move it
right.
yourself. So he's like, and I'm like, "Huh?" And he brought home the tabletop Donkey Kong, the tabletop Popeye, the tabletop Pac-Man. Those are ones where you put the D batteries inside of them, and it comes with the micro joystick and a little button. And I used to play it. I was like, "Oh, this is nice." And Popeye, back and forth, bloop 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 bloop, until you punch Bluto off of the platform. And so, those got me into to games. I got into esports long after esports was forged by Walter Day's Twin Galaxy, because I didn't even know that video games could be taken to that level until like late 80s going on into the 90s. That's when I was like, "Oh wow," I found out that these guys were champions and stuff. Like my father actually has a Time Life magazine collection, and I have the 1980. My father's passed away, but I have his collection. I have his
Sorry.
1982 book, and I saw the Twin Galaxies, and I saw the champions, and I'm like, "Oh wow, these guys are like sports figures." Because at the bottom they're like these. Well, it's in the magazine, so it's not like cards you could take out, but there were card versions of each of the players there,
Yep.
from Billy Mitchell coming out, Ben Gold, and the rest of the champions there. And I was like, "Wow, one day gaming is going to get to that level." I don't know if anybody remember like the Beckett and the Tops. They used to have magazines like the baseball magazine, the football magazine, the basketball magazines, and there were tear out cards you would get from them, certified by Tops and stuff like that. You could tear out cards. There's a page with like
Nice.
3 across, 3 in the middle, 3 on the bottom of like football, basketball, and baseball players. You could tear those out, and they were collectibles and stuff like that. When I saw that in the 1980 82 magazine, I think it's 81 or 82. I was like, wow, one of these days they're going to make trading cards for actual gamers who are professionals who play games. And Twin Galaxies Walter Day's Twin Galaxies set the bar because people don't understand that there's a difference between competitive gaming and esports. Competitive gaming has existed since video games was made. So we're going back to 1949 or 51, depending on which one you want to say is a game first. Was it Nuts and Crosses or was it the CTR? You can argue that, but whatever. That's the point. Is it started in the 50s? Once video games was created, boom, it was competitive. Video games are competitive in nature. Period. Whether you're playing against a person or you're playing against a computer, because
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
the point is to the whole aspect of games is to beat the challenge, whatever competitions in your way, whatever puzzle that there's there. So you're competing against it, and you can set scores. So when they had the tennis for two, or I think was it tennis for two? Was that the name of it? I don't know what the name of it, but the point is when you had pong, table for tennis for two, or tabletop tennis, whichever one came out before pong. The point was you can rack up scores. Once you can rack up scores, it's a competition immediately. It's a competition. I'm gonna Knots and Crosses is tic tac toe. That's a competition naturally before video games was even made. That was a competition. You'd have to play against someone, whether it's a computer or not. One moment. Oh. So I always came from that age, but then when the '90s came around, and then you know everybody was competing for world records back in those days. That was the earliest stage for like esports, because Twin Galaxies created an infrastructure throughout competitive gaming to turn competitive gaming into a sport.
See,
Literally Guinness Book of World Records.
that's where I feel like the kind of controversy, not to kind of controversies there is like when you have the arcades compared to like the team sports with like the I'm trying to think like Halo and stuff. I feel like esports is more like the Halo and the team kind of stuff where it was more about like setting a record and then someone else getting to. I know there's kind of controversy there. I know some people have two different opinions about
Let me
what
delete that.
esports.
Let me literally delete that entire thing right there, and I'm going to give you the contextual facts to it. Here's an example. I'm going to match it up with the sport so that you can literally run the correlation.
Okay.
When was basketball created?
I think like the 40s or 50s. I think
1889.
1889.
James
Oh, I was way off. Okay.
James Naismith created
Yes.
the game of basketball. The game of basketball. When did basketball turn into a sport? You
I
just
don't know.
you said that
Like 40s or 50s.
40s, 50s. Yes,
Okay.
ABA and the NBA. The ABA and the NBA took the game of basketball and created an institution to create a sport out of it.
Okay.
So basketball always existed before. You have to understand the game exists before the sport.
Okay.
The sport isn't just born. Cricket, hitting a rock with a stick. That's baseball before baseball was a sport. But
Yeah.
you just hit a rock with a stick to play a game. Later on, someone said, let's turn hitting a rock into a stick into a sport. Let's create rules around it. Let's set up competitions for it. Let's award the champions for it. I'm gonna read something to you. I did this in another interview. I do this all the time, and 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 I'm just going by Guinness's words. That's why Guinness World Records. People like to give Guinness World Records a bad name, but they don't know what the hell they're talking about. These are professionals. They know what they're talking about. They
Oh yeah.
know
Well,
what
and
they're
they
doing.
go around and they certify. That's what I think is a lot of fun because like you have how many do you have? You have several,
I have
don't
10.
you? You have
I have
10.
10.
Okay.
My team has 14 altogether.
Oh
But the
wow.
thing about Guinness, right? Which this is what makes Guinness so great. You need an adjudicator. An
Yes.
adjudicator is that even though Guinness is not into gaming, or traditionally was not into gaming, because don't get me wrong, they have a gaming history, right? But they understand how adjudication is. So someone had to adjudicate and certify gaming as a sport. And there's something a lot of people don't know. Guinness did. Guinness actually did certify Twin Galaxies. And I'm
Hmm.
trying. Let me just find this thing for you. I'm actually in my computers. Oh, why
Yeah,
did I do that?
we had one with Tim McVeigh. I've had a interview with him already where he was the
Mhm.
very first person to get 1 billion points on a arcade and a video game. So that
Yes,
was
but he denies certain elements of the history to esports. But despite his denial for it, right, he cannot deny his own achievement. Which
exactly.
that's why I find it's kind of like, okay, this kind of doesn't make any sense. You can't deny what you are. That's what you are. But I'm gonna read. So he's a part of esports, even if he denies that whether or not Twin Galaxies or whatever the case may be a part of it.
Yeah,
But it
esports is a real sport. Yeah, I mean, what's like some of the cash values these days? Like a couple million?
well, cash value doesn't mean anything because boxers like Jack Johnson and what's his guy's name? The guy who created the Dempsey roll, I forgot his name, or Rocky Marciano and the rest of those guys, they get nothing compared to what Floyd Mayweather gets in this day and age of boxing.
True,
Those guys were
true.
playing for boxing; they were knocking out each other for far less. So, are we going to say because they didn't make what Floyd Mayweather made, what they did back in the 1800s and the early 1900s, doesn't count as boxing? Clearly, we
No,
can't
that
say that.
was no,
Yeah,
no.
for instance, who's the richest baseball player there is right now? There's
That's playing or retired?
playing.
Ah, I don't know.
I,
I
I,
would say like Derek Jeter was one of the richest, or A Rod was
yeah, but they're
before.
retired. Let's go
Yeah,
with the retired guys, right? You would need 100,000 Babe Ruths to match the money that those guys made. But Babe Ruth was a baseball player, was he not? Was he not a baseball
yeah,
athlete?
yeah.
Can we deny that he was a baseball player? No, we can't. Same thing. You cannot deny that Tim McVeigh was an esports player. He may go, no, I was doing it for the love or whatever. No, you competed. You competed for a record. You did not compete because you just was in your house with your friends. I bet you I can get a score better than you. If that was the case, then no problem. Once you once you go out and you compete for the recognition of winning something, it's a sport.
Okay.
If I'm home and I'm playing chess with you and I beat you in chess, okay, that was a game we played of chess, but that wasn't a sport. But you can go to a chess league and
Yep.
compete, and like that's a sport. But wait a minute, you're playing the two same thing. Why is the one you're playing at home not a sport, but the one you're playing at a venue or whatever for Guinness to recognize you or the chess league to recognize you? Why is that a sport? You said it because Guinness recognized you and the chess league recognized you. That's why it's a sport. You being at home in the movie The King of Chinatown, no, not King of Chinatown, The King of Kong, Billy Mitchell says, hey, you want to golf for 59 in your backyard? Shit, I'll come over to your house. I'll draft you your old certificate and give it to you. But if you don't do it at Augusta, if you don't do it at the Masters, it doesn't count.
Okay. So going forward, then, and I appreciate the analogy,
Oh,
and I
sorry.
appreciate the history there.
There was one thing I wanted to read you. I
You
want to
want to?
read
Okay.
you something from Guinness.
Okay.
It's important. I wanted to read it from Guinness. So Guinness wrote in their Gamers Edition, I think it was 2015 or the 2016 book. On November 10th, on 10 November 1981, the Twin Galaxies video game arcade opened its doors in Ottumwa, Iowa.
Hmm.
Founder Walter Day sought to turn gaming into an international sport by creating contests, enforcing rules, crowning champions, measuring world records. He collected high scores from games from more than 100 arcades, releasing them in the Twin Galaxies national scoreboard. So, pretty much what they're saying is Walter Day created an infrastructure which forged an institution. Remember what they said, creating contests, enforcing rules, crowning champions, measuring world records. Since then, thousands of video game scores have been adjudicated. Oh, 1 second. Can you deal with them? Right. Since then, thousands of what it says here, thousands of video game scores have been adjudicated and collected, with high scores logged and record holders honored. Twin Galaxy state of the art peer review system, which is now the new Twin Galaxies. This is the one Jace Hall has, right? The peer review system adheres to Guinness World Records submission guidelines, ensuring that Twin Galaxies remains, not is, remains, meaning it had to have existed already.
Right.
remains the gold standard for video game adjudication submitted. Um, Later on that year, Walter Day got the actual plaque certificate. There's a picture of it on Google. You can get it, or you can ask Walter Day for it, where it says Twin Galaxies is the oldest adjudication organization for video games. If it's an adjudication organization, what does that adjudication organization does? Oh, that's right. What they're gonna say they do? They create contests, enforces rules, crowning champions, and measures world records. So it's an institution. So if it's an institution that does all that, then it's what? A sport.
Okay. Well, no, and I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. Now, so
Hmm.
going forward, and thank you for that. Going forward, then, when you started, then what made you go like from just playing to like professional? Where did you? So, because you said you played arcades and then you got to like the professional, or what made you think this is what I could do full time, or how did that come around?
I didn't. That was all accident. Um, I had a passion for video games, but it was a more casual passion, private, personal. I never believed I was going to be ever good as any of those legends out there. Whether it's Tim McVeigh, whether it's Todd Rogers, Billy Mitchell, Ben Gold, and any of them, it doesn't make a difference. Michael Clark, all of those guys, Jeff Peters. I didn't ever believe I was ever going to be as good as those guys. Abner Ashman. The list can go on. You know the OGs. I call them the elder gods. I didn't think I was gonna ever be as good as those guys. I knew I was I knew I had the fundamentals to play video games, but what made me get into Twin Galaxies was literally in the latter part of my life. I was in my 30s, so I played enough arcade and console games. I've set so many records on them. I've beaten games that like, I destroyed this game. I mastered this game. But when Twin when I got into Twin Galaxies, I realized that a lot of the scores I saw, I was like, wait a minute, I can beat that. It sounds familiar, like the King of Kong. Like Steve Wiebe, he wasn't a hardcore gamer. He was a school teacher who used to play baseball and he does art, but he was just good at Donkey Kong. So when he saw the score in Donkey Kong, he's like, hey, I can beat that because he's played the game. So he's a guy who plays video games who just so happened to be good at that particular game. Well, for me, growing up as a kid, I played so many games. I was good at a lot of games. So that's what made me that when I was informed like what from Twin Galaxies from Arturo Sanchez and Lance Eustache. Those guys was like, yo, you should go put records into Twin Galaxies. And I was like, I'm not really that good until I saw scores like Contra. I'm like, wait, what? They didn't max out the score in this game? This is crazy. Why is not max out the score in this game? Games like Black Tiger and Super Mario Brothers. I was sitting there like, why aren't people maxing out the games? So it's either A, like me, we were completely oblivious to Twin Galaxies and the scores that were already set in, so nobody really knew or cared. So I was like, okay, you know something? Let me test my mantle in some of these games. And I started setting scores for those games. And I was like, oh wow, I'm actually not as bad as I thought I was. I'm actually good in comparison to the other people that's out there. I could hold my way up to a bunch of the champions that are out there. But I was already into esports before I did the world record stuff. The world record stuff came afterwards. I got into esports when I formed Empire Arcadia, which is
Okay.
an
Yep.
esports team. And I did that to honor Walter Day's Twin Galaxies because in the late 90s going into 2000s, after Fatality did what he did at the CPC, CPL, and Street with Street Runner and the rest of these guys, I was like, yo, a lot of people are just they're not really pushing esports the way it is. The word esports came up in 1996. I credit Fatality for it because Fatality was the driving force that used the word. Some people go, oh, it's not Fatality who did it. Look, let's be realistic here. We're not going to find the actual person who came up with the word electronic sports. Even if you did, how can you how can you quantify or qualify, validate that the person was the first? What if it's some guy in India or Pakistan who came up with it first? You can't tell. But Fatality was the biggest name in competitive gaming that used the word esports. So with him, it's like, because guess what? I got the name esports from Fatality. That's where I got it from. So I'm like, Okay, I'm going to credit Fatality from it. Most of us who all heard of esports and started carrying it off heard it from Fatality because he was the biggest name in competitive gaming, which they didn't even call it competitive gaming. They used to say video game tournaments. And telling a sponsor, hey, can you sponsor us for a video game tournament was a no-no. Sponsor be like, a what? Video games? Get a job, kid. But then when Fatality starts saying, electronic sports is a professional sports, so we call it esports. Even gamers is like, yeah, esports. That's what you. So everyone started adopting the name, but we just called it video game tournaments at first. But everyone adopted the name esports, and then it stuck. More professionals started using the name. So myself, Justin Wong, Sanford Kelly, guys throughout the fighting game community, guys through the FPS community, guys from the what's the name? The not MOBA community before the MOBA RTS community. StarCraft players started using it. All of those guys started using the term, and then it stuck that electronic sports. Like I don't even call it regular sports anymore. I call it A sports or T sports, which is traditional or athletic sports. So you have athletic sports, then you have esports, and because soon you're going to have V sports, which is virtual reality sports. So
VR, yeah.
yeah, so sports is gonna be the main word, and then you have it's the umbrella, and then under sports you have A sports, esports, V sports, or whatever else is coming up. Remember that was said on JP's podcast first. Get it right.
All right,
Um,
yeah, definitely. It's gonna
yeah.
be in the archives. Now, what do you call Magic card game battles or um,
T sports,
Yu-Gi-Oh, T
trading
sports,
cards.
trading cards. Okay,
Yeah, TC
TC.
sports or T sports, what they call, or C sports, card sports. Right. Either
There you
way,
go. Yep.
card sports, C sports. Wow, this is getting stupid. So you have A through Z. You'll
Right.
have A through Z sports, right?
Exactly. So when did you start? So those kind of segueing into Empire. When did you start Empire then?
Empire Arcadia officially as an organization started in 2002. Before that, we were a crew, well, and that crew goes all the way back into the 80s, which we call Videoland. And no, it's not based off Captain and the Game Master. It's just coincidence that we named it Videoland because the area that we lived in the Bronx and White Plains Road, all of the bodegas, the supermarkets, the laundromats and so forth, all of those places had like arcades in them. So we called that entire area Videoland. Captain and the Game Master came out, and then they had Videoland. It was like, yeah, we're Videoland. We're kids, so whatever. That ran all the way into the late '90s, and I said this on a different podcast before, but I got into an argument with Sanford, one of my players, and he was like, you know, we were playing Street Fighter Alpha 3, and he beat me with Balrog. And I was like, man, that's why I don't like PlayStation D-pads. I can't do my Dragon Punch properly. He's no, that's not why. It's because I'm better than you. And he's like, you may think you're better than us on this block, but he's like, when you go out there, you need to go out there and compete in the street, out in the arcades, go to the tournaments, it be in tips and tricks. When you go out there and you compete at that level, then you can say you're nice and you're better than me and blah blah blah. And so Sanford knew about esports. He's like, this is an actual competition. You being nice in your house and beating up people in the games that you play, that doesn't mean anything. You got to go out there, and that's what made me go. You know something? I'm gonna form an esports team. So I wanted to turn my group into a team. And then I literally filed for it, created Empire Arcadia, its actual company and everything. We got the website, all of that, and we started in 2002. And then this was late 2002. 2003 was when we went to UCLA. Justin Wong and Sanford Kelly went out there. We started competing, and then these guys just started demolishing people. And they just helped the brand. I can never take any of the credit for myself because I myself didn't even get onto the virtual battlefield until after these guys kind of started like 2-3 years in establishing for the organization. And then I said the empire needs to expand like any empire. And he was like, what do you mean expand? I'm like, you guys seems to get the fighting games down pack, but we need to get into first person shooters. We need to get into retro games. We need to get in racing games and all that other stuff. So whether it may be Total Carnage or what's the name of this game or Pac-Man for the retro games, or it's going to be Gears of War or Call of Duty for first person and third person shooter, or it's going to be Need for Speed or well, actually it wasn't Need for Speed at the time. it was, well, Gran Turismo was kind of still young. So it was more like Top Gear or Mario. Actually, it was really Mario Kart. When you thought about racing games back in the early 21st century, 2000, Mario Kart was the game. So we needed to try to expand in that. So I was like, I'll lead that because this was more where I came from. I played all of those games. So we needed to go to like conventions and see
Right.
if the conventions hosted tournaments because we need to go to public areas. This is all based on what Sanford said. We need to go out to public areas and compete. This is esports. This is the essence of esports. So we used to go to MagFest. Shout outs to Brendan, shout outs to Paul, shout outs to all the guys that built MagFest. But back when they were Dom, even Dom, which he was like in the very, very beginning, when it was P1, P2, P3 before it changed it to MagFest. MagFest still running to this day. MagFest
Okay.
has been running literally for 20 years, 2 decades.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
2 decades.
I'll have to. I might have
Yeah.
to try to contact them, maybe have them on. I don't know if they'll come on my little show yet, but hey, you never know. You can set your heights up and see what
Hey,
they do.
ask
That's
him.
really cool.
Ask him. You never know.
Yeah.
But
So how
that's
long?
what got me into it.
Okay.
That's how I got into it.
Because you guys had a
And
house too, right? Is
yes,
that all
we
you guys would do? Like, you guys get up, just play video games every single day?
Yep, I was a cook, I was a coach, I was the marketing guy, everything. So I took off. I tried to do that so that all the guys did was play. That's it. 24/7 playing because I was like, the world is a vast place and there's some killers out there. And in order for our guys to be able to compete, they need every moment they possibly could.
Exactly. So
So,
how long did you guys do that for?
uh, per day, or
Like,
I
how
don't know
long
what you mean.
was
Like,
like how long did you guys have the house? Are you guys still doing
oh,
Empire? Like, how long were you guys in?
no. Well, we're still doing Empire. Empire Arcade exists still today. We pivot slightly. We're focusing on our daughters or the sisters. We call the Valkyries of Arcadia. We're focusing on the girls, like literally. Empress now she runs the entire Valkyries, which is just it's the female aspect of what Empire Arcadia is. A lot of
Okay,
people are like, why do you have a female aspect? It's because they're girls and we're guys. And
right.
although we're gamers, that we are equal in or have in common, but they're girls. The way they enjoy video games is not the way we enjoy video games. We could enjoy video games like them, and they can enjoy video games like us. But naturally, girls do not enjoy video games like guys do on a in a one-on-one comparison because it's like how guys enjoy sports versus girls enjoy sports.
Yeah,
Um, both of them can enjoy it, right? But let's see something that women are really into. That
fashion,
guys can, huh? You-
fashion.
Fashion. Okay, look at fashion, right? Women are into fashion. We can get into fashion too, like as guys, but we're not into it as much as girls are into it. You see what I'm saying? We can
Yeah,
bring it all the way back down to like the toys. Okay, I had GI Joe, military soldiers, guys. They had a Barbie doll. We're not. I'm not. They're both toys. Guy can play with Barbie dolls, and girls can play with GI Joe soldiers. But girls are more into Barbie, and guys are more into GI Joes. Now, people can argue about, well, we shouldn't set it that way. Hey, look, that's just pretty much how it is. Like I said, guys. I know guys. This is funny because I have a sister and stuff like that, and cousins and stuff like that. I had a Ken doll. I'm gonna play as Ken because if I see Barbie, yo, what's up? Come on, which kid did not do that? Which
right.
kid did not do that? Which kid did not do that? Let's not sit here and act. At, since Barbie was created, you go over your friend's house or Thanksgiving dinner, you go over a family's house. There's your friend, what's her name? Sarah over there, and whatever she's playing. What you doing? I'm playing with my toys. You see Ken? She has Barbie. As a boy, you go, hey, what's up? What are you doing? Hey, let's go have sex. No, let's not do that. I'm like, blah. And you're like, wait, how old are you guys again? Like 5. Hey, man, times change. Times
Yeah.
change.
So like, okay, so you had the Empire, and you guys were in the house. How long did you guys do the competitive that way in the house and everything?
Well, the house was for training.
Okay.
We didn't
Is it
play.
still going for training still, or
No, because we don't have the arc. We lost. Well, okay, if you consider where I am now as an arc, but the arc stands for it's ARC. It's called Arcadian Recreational Center. It's a place where all the guys went to and they trained. Guys would play for 16 hours a day,
wow?
training, beating up on each other in any game, whether, like I said, Gears of War, Call of Duty, Unreal Tournament, Street Fighter, you name it. I back then I was putting in like, oh man, I used to play Tetris, and I put in like 14-hour days in Tetris. The last time I did that, and I'm never doing it again, was 2019, 2 years ago, not too long ago, where I played Tetris 99, and I was racing to become the first person to get Prestige 2 star and end the game because they data mine the game Tetris 99, and if you get 99 star twice, no, 99 star one, no, well, you have to get to Tetris 99, and then you get to Tetris 99 star. Oh, is it star one or star two? I forget what it was, but they didn't. I think it's star one. When you get to level 99 star, no matter how many times you win, no matter how many times you lose, you get no more experience. The game stopped. You could keep playing, but there was nothing else after it. I was the first person in the world to get that because it was a race between me and a guy called Sheik. We were racing. We were the highest levels in the game, and we were racing each other. I put in 20-hour days for 149
Wow.
days
Wow.
just to beat him. And he didn't lose by much. He was like level 97, and I was 99 star. He was 2 levels behind. That was it. And I had to grind. And he was ahead of me at one time because I thought the game ended when you reached level 99, hence Tetris 99. When I got there, someone beat me to the level. Someone got 99 before me because I wanted to wait. Someone's beating me. But we both found out that the game didn't end. So it was like, oh. So I was like, nah, I was like, I'm 99. I'm good. And so there's this guy called Sheik now. He was like still in the 80s. Next thing you know, 2, 3 weeks later, I get back on the game. Let me play this game. I run into Sheik again. I was at level 1 star. Sheik was literally at level 15 star. I said, wait, what? Just because I took off 3 weeks. I had to come back 15 levels down. And
Wow.
I was like, nah. I was like, so someone came and said, Triforce, the game ends at level 99. There's 0 experience points after level 99. So I was like, I'm not letting them beat me. I grind, like I said, 20 hours a day for 149 days straight. And then, like I said, I caught up to him. I beat him. It was so much fatigue. It was more like just getting through it than anything else. And yeah, that's why like my accuracy in the game wasn't that great. I had a 40% win percentage. People was like, oh, this guy, if he's playing that much every day, he's like 20%. They found out like I had 40%. No, there's guys I have like 70s, 80s, 90s, or whatever, but they don't play as long as much. They don't play as long and as much as I do. They'll put in 2, 3 hours a day and whatever. So they'll have a fresh mind. But can you imagine?
That'd be
Can
a
you imagine
long.
20 hours a day,
That'd be
every
burned
day?
out.
Yes. And I did that. And my last game that got me level 99, level 99 star, I was up for 36 hours straight that day. I got second place in that final game to actually make it out. So you have to understand the mental fortitude you have to be able to play that many hours a day and still win or get top 3 in the game or even make top 10. And but I wouldn't call it a cheat. I found a strategy that worked best for me. It's called a triple T-spin stack. So I just kept using that on everyone. Boom, 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 boom. Set up my triple T-spin. Bam, 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 bam. And the reason why I use that tactic is because prior to Tetris 99 coming out, Puyo Puyo Tetris came out for the Nintendo Switch. And I set it to the hardest difficulty. And I held the L button down and I pricked X, which is the hardest character in the game. That's the last boss. And I put the 3 computers on super hard difficulty against me. And to beat them, I formed the triple T-spin stack strategy to use against them. It wasn't about trying to match them in um, um, double T-spins or super doubles. None of that mattered. It was all about setting that up. Because if I could set that up, if I go triple T, L, whoever you are, you're dead because it does the damage because it's first of all it's a combo. It's one of the most powerful moves in the game. That's a combo. It's comboed in. It's double double L, and then I can restack again. And I used to beat the computer that way. My fastest time was 24 seconds, and I was
Wow.
like, and one time I beat the computer on the Nintendo DS in 7 seconds on Tetris Ultimate, which is it's one of the hardest Tetris CPUs. The Game Boy, no, not the Game Boy, the Nintendo DS version. The PlayStation version is hard, but nah, the Nintendo DS version is actually harder. And
Wow.
I beat the computer in 7 seconds with that, and I was like, wow. So I took that strategy, and that's all I did. So it wasn't constantly me always trying to find out a new strategy how to win. I just went with what got me the win the most, and it got me a 40% win streak.
Do you think there's going to be like a VR version?
There's look at Tetris Effect. Of course, there's a VR version coming out.
What do you think
They,
that?
well, getting the blocks in. There's an episode of Captain and the Game Master, I think season 3, where Kevin got thrown in a jar and the tetronomes were coming down. And and Kevin was using his power pad. He's like, "Bring, bring," he's putting the blocks there. I think Tetris one day will be exactly like that. You are
Okay.
in the jar, and the blocks are coming down on you, and you're not supposed to get crushed. So you have to Tetris them out before the bar it gets all the way to the top, and the blocks fall down and kill you.
Now you've had a couple documentaries as well. You said you had the King of China. Um, where did that come? Like, who came up with that idea, and how did that start?
Well, the King of Chinatown isn't about me. It's actually about Justin Wong. Um, that's what it was supposed to be. Then it got turned into me. It was about the life of Justin Wong, this Asian American kid who was nice at Street Fighter, and one of the best, if not the best, in the world. I think he's the Michael Jordan of fighting games, hands down. Um, and some guy met him in the arcade and told him, hey, he wants to do a little school project on him. And at the time, Justin said, "Well, I have a manager. You got to talk to my manager first." And Calvin Theobald and is that's the director. He approached me and he told me he wanted to make a school documentary about it. I'm like, why are you wasting my time, just in time, and more important, your time? Why would you want to just do a school documentary about it? Why don't you make a documentary about this Asian American kid who goes to arcades, compete in arcade tournaments, travels the country to win tournaments to make money to help his grandmother? He was like, wait, what? I was like, yes, that's how he lives. He wins video game tournaments to make money so he can help his grandmother. And he was like, whoa, that's a great story. I was like, yes. And you want to waste that on a school documentary? And he was like, hold on, let's talk about this. So then me and Calvin sat there. He was like, all right, let's talk about this. What do you want to do? So I was like, look, he's one of my flagship players for our esports team, Empire Arcadia. He said, he's on a team? I'm like, yeah, you never heard about esports? So by the time I was done telling him what the organization is about, esports Justin, he was like, oh, we gotta document this. So that's how he got into the King of Chinatown. Now, how did it turn into me? Well, in the King of Chinatown movie, the movie was supposed to end. Um, yes, we can. The movie was supposed to end when Justin won the U.S. National Championship at the GameStop Capcom Open, right? So this is 2009. Capcom and GameStop teamed together and they hosted an esports championship, but it was really for the U.S. and for Street Fighter V. And there was a U.S. National Championship, big trophy, the whole 9 yards. And Justin went and he competed and they made it to the finals. He faced off against Mike Ross and he beat Mike Ross. And the tournament, he won the US championship. Then they had a little international exhibition and he played against Daigo and he lost to Daigo in exhibition, but it doesn't matter. It's an exhibition. And I said, this is a perfect way to end the movie. Calvin said, does Daigo go to Evo? And I'm like, yeah, why? And he's like, you think he'll be at Evo to compete for the world championship? And I'm like, yeah, but so what? He's like, you know what we should do? This should be the middle point of the movie where Justin wins the U.S. national title. And then he goes and he fights Daigo at Evo for the world championships and beat him. And I said, Calvin, you are taking a massive risk. Don't do that. End the movie with him winning the U.S. national championship. You can always make a King of Chinatown 2. Justin goes to Evo to win the world championship. He beats Daigo. If he loses, it doesn't matter. The first documentary would have what it would have sold. He won it was a perfect story. Asian American kid. This is like literally the American dream. Literally. Asian American kid comes in as an immigrant. His family, they're old and they're Chinese people and they're just trying to survive. And their kid grows up and he's playing video games and he goes on, he wins all these tournaments and he goes to the games down the block. That would have jettisoned Justin's career. He would have been off. He would have been the Asian fatality. This guy says, no, let's go for the gusto. I said, oh my God, you're going to risk the entire documentary on Evo. So go to the Evo championship. Justin makes it to the finals. Final game, game 7, final round. Justin loses. Now, Justin loses. The director was like, we needed that. Or if he had won, that would have made the movie so grand. And I'm like, but you got that with the U.S. National Championship. You were being greedy. You went. So I told him, who cares? X out Evo. Just X Evo out. No, we did too much to come too far for Evo now. And the movie's already out. Putting out a movie of Justin winning the U.S. National Champion the year before is pointless. And I said, that's why you should have put out the movie first. But he didn't listen. So then now he scrapped the movie. Put the movie in the back burner. And then said that he left the movie alone. Then Justin Wong leaves Empire Arcadia the following year. EJ comes up with an offer I cannot compete with because like our esports team is more grassroots, traditional. We're gamers who turned executives as opposed to like Evil Genius, which are executives who play video games, that decide to make their own team. So they have capital. They have connections to the industry where they can make money to fund their team. We as a grassroots team, we have to virtually beg for our money, virtually win our money in tournaments to sustain the organization and the brand and keep it going. So there's no way I can compete against them. Justin takes the offer because Justin's like, I've been competing with Empire Arcadia for 10 years. This is 2010. Justin came around 2002. It was 2002, 2003. So it's roughly about 10 years, 7 years, right? He's like, I gave my best years, Triforce. I can't turn this offer down. These guys are going to pay me like 25 grand. And I was looking at Justin, I'm like, Justin, you make 25 grand at McDonald's. I was like, well, whatever. I'm not trying to hate, but I'm just saying, but whatever. Okay. So I was like, it was a bitter taste in my mouth, but it was bittersweet because the sweet part was Justin finally got an opportunity. He fought 10 years to get that opportunity. He's now on a team that can pay him a significant amount of money, whatever.
Is he still competing these days, or has he retired? Or
Justin retired. He retired already. He's in the International Video Game Hall of Fame already. And I inducted him in there. I'm so proud that I inducted him.
Now you're also in to the Hall of Fame as well, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to do like while we're wrapping up here, I would love to do like second a part 2. I know we have like the other documentary, and we haven't really touched on your world records either. I guess where we're wrapping up, kind of like, what are you doing right now? Do you have any plugs?
Well, like I said, what I'm doing right now, I'm working. I'm helping the Valkyries of Arcadia right now. That's really my mission right now, just to help the girls out. I'm trying to get their. I'm trying to get them solidified in esports. They're running their host. Well, this is not their first tournament that they're hosting, but it's the first esports tournament that they're hosting that's sponsored by an esports league. So the shout outs, I've got to give a plug. Shout outs to the Long Island Gaming League. They're actually out in Long Island, New York. They actually sponsored a Just Dance esports tournament for them here in Jamaica. Like literally paid for the venue, put out the tournament prize, the whole 9 yards. And they rolled them out for the girls and stuff like that because the Long Island Gaming League is looking to create they want to create a platform that is seamlessly easy for girls to get into competitive gaming, rather than going through the traditional grinding and getting stomped down and grind down by guys. And I don't mean that in the video games. I mean that socially. When girls get into video games, what are you doing playing video games? You're not nice. You suck and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're not really supposed to even do that to guys. But over the years, we've been doing this for so many years as gamers, as guys, trashing each other. We're used to it. But not girls. There are girls who can take it, but
Not all
generally
of them.
speaking, they're not. Generally, not even at all. Generally, it's more. It's rare and exceptional to get a boss chick who will play, and you'll be talking that shit and whoop your ass and be looking at you and be like, "Oh, you must have got me messed up with like the rest of these girls." But like they're rare. You see what I'm saying? The majority of them are casual coming in and they want to get good, but they can't get good when we're trashing them all the time. So it's one of those things. So the Long Island Gaming League, they see that and they like that initiative, and they're like, so what type of game can they? What type of games do you think we should use? And well, first of all, this here in Jamaica, dancing is a huge cultural element in Jamaica. So just dance,
All right, and then where can we find you at then?
guys.
You on Facebook or?
Hit me up on Twitter. I got too much people following me on Facebook. Or I'm already maxed out at 5,000. I need my Twitter game to step up. I'm at 13K. Help me get to 15K, guys. So hit me up at Twitter at EMP underscore TRIFORCE underscore GM, which is short for EMP Triforce GM. That's
All
pretty
right,
much it.
well, thank you. It's been a pleasure. We'll definitely have to do a part two. I love having you on. It's great to see you again, Triforce. You have a wonderful night, and thank you for everybody,